Welcome to Business Talk, presented in collaboration with the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, from the heart of southeastern Ohio at the University of Rio Grande TV studio. Our goals are simple: promote the University of Rio Grande and the Ohio State University South Centers, as well as advocate local small business and their support organizations. More importantly, promote southeastern Ohio as a wonderful place to live, explore, and learn. There are many different ways you can find us. The University of Rio Grande Cable Access Channel 17, live online at blogtalkradio.com, and on YouTube if you are unable to catch our show live. Introducing our co-hosts, Jason Winters, Mike Thompson, Patrick Dengel. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to our show. It's a pleasure today to talk with a gentleman who's had a lot of experience in the educational field. At lunchtime, Mike, Don, and I were talking about what it was like when I got out of high school. As a matter of fact, in my high school, way back when, before the turn of the century, there were about 6 or 7 career options that I felt were available. I did not realize that there were so many different opportunities because at that time we were sort of geared towards or looking to certain kinds of occupations, such as a doctor or an airplane pilot or some kind of chemist or engineer. And I've come since that time to now to really realize that there are over 44,000 different kinds of occupations that an individual can get involved in. And as I've talked with many individuals, especially with our guests today and some of my associates at University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University, there are many ways to acquire an education. And an education is just not at the very beginning of high school, or it ends at high school or ends at college. It's a lifelong process. And today we have a gentleman who's the director of the Buckeye Hills Career Center here in Rio Grande, who's going to talk more about what it takes for students, whether you're in high school or adult education, what it takes for you to the kind of careers that are available to you that you may not be aware of. And so it's a great pleasure to welcome Don Armstrong. Don is the director of Buckeye Hills Career Center. Don, I want to thank you very much for your
You're welcome.
time.
Thanks for asking me.
It's amazing, as we were talking about Buckeye Careers. First of all, I went on your website. Well done. Mm-hmm. And we'll show a little bit later the website address, etc. But you have a unique school.
Well, we do. We're real proud of what we do. Career Center is really centered around getting training or getting enough training to go on to what we call a positive placement. Positive placement meaning that you're going to go on to either college or technical school or go straight into the job market. And so it definitely is something that we're excited about. And the one thing that makes us very unique is you can come through my school and we've got 25 high school teachers, you've got another 25 in the adult world, some of them are part-time, but they all believe in what they're doing. Even the academics are centered around a person completing their program. So that's kind of what I'd like to get into
Sure.
eventually. So.
Well, if we may, now you've had at least 35 years in the educational field. You want to share a little bit about your background and.
Yeah, I grew up in southern Ohio. Grew up on a farm, did a lot of construction. Even as a teacher, I did a lot of summer construction, and I've built 3 houses and things like that. But started out as a math teacher. Went to Ohio University. My wife graduated from Rio Grande University. I have a daughter that graduated from Rio Grande. One son, University of Cincinnati. One son, Cedarville. and one son, Ohio University. And they're, of course, grown now. I've got 10 grandkids, which is awesome. But in 12 years of teaching and coaching, then got into administration down in Pike County. So as a teacher, I was in Jackson City schools, and then down in Pike County was Eastern Local Schools, which is one of the locals in Pike County. And then at 19 years there as a coordinator, as a principal, just love the people in Pike County. And then I proceeded from there to be a superintendent in Portsmouth for 2 years, and then an interim superintendent heading towards my retirement in Fairfield Union up around Lancaster. It was at that point, after doing some workshops and stuff similar to that, it was at that time that this opportunity at Buckeye Hills came up. This is my third year at Buckeye Hills, and as my experience as in career tech was more of a applicable experience through farming and construction. My real educational background is through public ed, and all of a sudden this was a perfect merge where you're actually doing applicable education, and that's our focus. In other words, we feel that it would be a failure if someone left our school and was not able to go on to a positive placement, which for a lot of people is a job that's directly related to what they were trained in.
Well, you know, your mission sort of summarizes everything. It basically says that you offer a wide variety of career and technical programs, but the most important thing is that you have classroom experience, laboratory experience, cooperative work experience, option programs, not only in the high school area, but also in the adult educational program. And I think that's very important because not everyone, I'm not a believer that everyone should have a liberal arts or a Bachelor of Sciences degree to get a quality job.
Most definitely. Half of every student of our high school, half of our students' day, deals with what we call the lab, or it's their program. We have 15 programs at Buckeye Hills High School, and we have between 400 and 500 students in those 15 programs. Now, of course, in the morning, usually it's the juniors that are in that lab, and then the seniors, most of them are in the afternoon. We call them first-year students, second-year students, and so it really gives a student a lot of time to learn. Now, of the 3-hour lab, which is a half a day, of that 3-hour lab, probably about a third of that time is very academic in nature. In other words, if it's in construction, I'm actually learning things about construction. But then about 2/3 of that time deals with actually learning how to build. And now construction is a real good example because we actually build a house for humanities.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, each year.
That is great. Well, I noticed that in the construction trade, you also have heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing,
Yes.
electrical.
Right.
You have welding.
Yes.
And in the building trades, I think that's very, very important. You were mentioning a little bit ago that you also have a car car mechanics,
Mm-hmm.
where individuals in the Rio Grande area can take advantage, get their car fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they pay for the parts and they pay a little bit of a labor charge. But the most important thing is that the students get the benefits.
They do. I mean, I believe in it as much. I have my car is in the shop right now, but I know that if I take my car, for instance, to a dealership, they might be able to fix it a little quicker because it is an educational setting at Buckeye Hills, and they may spend all afternoon or even a couple days on something like a car. But if you walk into the classroom, you're going to see the instructor has got dirty hands with all these other kids that have dirty hands because they're actually doing the experience.
Sure.
And then on some of the other jobs, you'll see these two students are doing this completely by themselves because they've gained that competency. So it's really good experience.
By the way, you had a video when you go to the website, and it's buckeyehills.net.
Yes.
They have a video. I'm going to ask Mike if he would be willing to play that video, that 90-second one.
CAD must equal angle BCD and to ace the SAT.
And what's the point of that?
To get into college.
Well, what's the point of that?
To build a good career.
Wait, what career?
Well, you know, that's up to you.
Our education system is built around abstract subjects and goals. You listen, you study, you test, grade after grade, year after year, school after school. And then, what do you do with what you learn, if you learn it? Can you apply anything to a career? And what if you prefer to learn in a different way? What if school just doesn't work out for you? Do you have any other options, even one? No matter where you are in your educational journey, you have plenty of options at Buckeye Hills Career Center. See, we teach students, both high school and adults, practical skills through directed education in a variety of fields, like cosmetology, nursing, construction, and auto technology. You know, stuff you can actually use. Then, that hands-on experience helps you understand the abstract ideas, so you can master the same concepts by mastering skills that build your career, giving you great options, like going on to college or a career, and a paycheck sooner rather than later. At Buckeye Hills, we aren't teaching our students to succeed in school. We're teaching our students to succeed in life. Discover your options at buckeyehills.net.
That's well done. You know, and I think it also speaks to the fact that just because we have one set of skills does not mean that we can't continue our educational program in later years.
That's a very good point. I had heard even several years ago they said most people are actually going to have 10 different jobs as they go through, and it may even be more than that. But the one thing we try to emphasize at Buckeye Hills is not only technical training but how to work. We have one program that we started, one award, so to speak, a certificate that is what we call an employability certificate. For any 9 weeks that a student goes the entire 9 weeks and misses 2 or less days, gets all their vocational tasks done, and their behavior is good, meaning they're going to be able to listen to an employer, we give them a 1 9 weeks credit. Now, if they get 3 9 weeks, they actually get what we call an employability certificate. Now, we got that idea straight from employers. Employers are basically saying, before you tell me the skills of this person, I need somebody that'll show up. I need somebody that'll listen to me. And so we started that as a result of our advisory committees listening to employers.
I think that is very, very important. You know, let's face it, when individuals have graduated from high school, they may have some experience in, you know, working career, but they don't have the experience, hopefully, that you and I have had, or Mike or Luke or any of the other students. And so it does take some kind of attitude on the student's part to be open and learn.
Well, that's true. And I think one strength that we run into, or that we have, is students learn quite a bit when they can identify with what they are being taught.
Yeah.
And if it's just like when you're first learning, if you're in driver's ed learning to drive, there's nobody that doesn't listen to their instructor because they want to get that license. Well, that's kind of the way it is with Buckeye Hills. And one of the things that they do, or that we do right off the bat, is make them look like the trade that they're in. For instance, if they're in the medical trade, they're wearing scrubs. If they're in cosmetology, they're dressed like cosmetologists. And we spend a lot of money on toolkits. In fact, we get sponsored by some of the county money for at-risk academic students that actually will help buy their toolkit or buy their scrubs. And all of a sudden you take a kid maybe as a sophomore that was kind of lethargic as far as their education goes, and now all of a sudden they come down and they find out I can be the best welder,
Yeah.
or I can be really good in cosmetology, and now all of a sudden their attendance goes up and their grades go up, and I'm not saying we're hitting 100% of them, but we have between 80 and 90% of positive placement in our programs, which means they're going out, they're either going into higher ed or they're going out into the job market.
I myself can't agree with you more. First of all, let's take Mike Thompson's program. He's the director of the Instructional Design and Media Services, and one of his proteges, if I may, one of his students is behind the scenes. This student, through Mike's tutelage, he's now developing and designing videos. He has his own TV program. His goal is to eventually have his own videography program, etc. And so we see that the technical experiences that an individual has is so very important, because it does give you an added edge. If you don't mind, can we take a look at some of the pictures that you were kind enough to bring on some of the educational programs?
This is our auto body picture to give you an idea of what they get into. They do amazing work. We just got, we competed with the snowblade competition in Galplis where they painted up a snowblade. Of course, by the end of the season, now maybe this year it'll last because we haven't had any snow, but that's a good example.
So here the students are actually painting. They've probably
Yes.
done auto body repair.
Right, and this is actually a self-contained room with ventilation that we have there.
And so what is this? I
That's
see.
automotive.
Automotive.
And that's where my car is presently in that program, getting a new alternator. But this is an example of alignment, with one of our students. This is in carpentry. We are starting to see more non-traditional, by non-traditional issues, meaning more girls in carpentry, more guys in cosmetology, things like that. It's still a little bit one-sided, but this is an example of one of our carpentry students.
I think that's very, very important, because men and women can do the same kind of job, many different kinds of jobs.
They definitely can. And work is not easy, but it's very beneficial and enjoyable. This is our child care. Now, this is one that we'd like to get our numbers up on this, because right now there's a lot of child care places that need not only child care instructors, but child care aides. And so this is an example of our child care. And of course, we got permission to shoot these kids in our advertisements and stuff. But these are actual kids that are talking to with the students.
You know, since you are a vocational school, and since you do have children, you probably have gone through a lot of certifications for the instructors to be able to do what they are doing.
That's a good point. A lot of our instructors, in fact, I would say most of our instructors go through what we call a Route B, which means if I'm a welder and I'm the best welder, you know, in 5 counties, and then we can go after that welder and say, hey, how would you like to be an instructor? Now they have 4 years then to go through 27 hours of learning how to be a teacher while they're teaching. So it's not like they have to wait for those 27 hours. But it's amazing. I mean, we've got in the high school, we've got our 2 nursing instructors are actually nurse practitioners.
Good.
You know,
Good.
our welding instructor is one of the best welders I've seen, and used to be in a big time role in industry. So we really want that industry connection. You know, we just hired a peace officer instructor that is coming out of a lot of training coming from the Gallia County Sheriff's Office.
Good.
So, and not only that way, you know, up in the adult, we have registered nurses, we have registered surge techs that are actually now being the instructor. We're in the peace officer and the adult, our Captain Leach is a longtime captain from the Ironton Police Force, and he's been with us now for several years. So you can't beat the experience of our instructors.
That's true. You know, it's rather interesting. We have a collaboration, Ohio State University and University of Rio Grande, and then there is a strong. There's a strength between have collaborations. Now there's Buckeye Hills Career Center. There's nothing wrong with having 3 or 4 or 5 different educational programs working together, because each one has its own strengths, but when you pool all those resources together, you really become strong. And I think you have been a proponent of taking into individuals, as has the University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University, and giving them opportunities to do the best that they can.
Yeah, that's a good point. Rio Grande is definitely a partner with us in a lot of areas. For instance, our practical nursing, we have over 60% of our graduates will go right on into Rio Grande and get their RN.
That's fantastic.
They get their PN. And we even have one program, respiratory therapy, which we partner with Rio Grande. It's actually an associate degree. They'll actually graduate with a Rio Grande University degree, but we partner with that. Even in our high school, if you walk through our high school and say, what are you going to do, where are you going to go to school, most people are going to say Rio Grande. With every one of our programs, we have what we call an articulation agreement, where Rio Grande is going to give us some credit for the lab as well as the academic, but with our lab instruction, if they go into that area, they're going to be able to get credit, college credit. So.
Sure. I was just looking at some of your health programs. Certified nurse assistant, emergency medical technician, need a lot of that. Medical assistants, medical office, phlebotomy, practical nursing, respiratory, surgical. I think all of those are extremely important. So it's working together for the strength of the students. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. If you would cue up the Surge Tech picture, this is a good example. See, Buckeye Hills is small enough that we can have a program, and if we have 10 graduates in Surge Tech, that we can actually afford to run that program. Now, right now in Surge Tech, we have 13 still in the program. I think it started out with 15. but every one of these 13 will end up being employed.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Our time is getting short. Do you want to talk just a minute about some of the new initiatives that that Buckeye Hills Career Center has been looking at?
Well, yes. One is called career advising, where right now all of our feeder schools, which we have 7 high schools, they are actually developing a career advising plan in every one of those districts. Now, we have been given the challenge through a grant to help guide and help the feeder schools. And so by the end of this year, every one of those high schools, Jackson High School, Gallipolis, Wellston, Oak Hill, the Gallia County schools will have a plan, and it'll be implemented next year. And then the other thing is we're actually having career tech beginning classes in the middle school.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, that is very, very important. When should you start helping your child to plan? It can never be too early.
Yes.
And it is also true that individuals that graduate from a program or two, they will probably in 5, 6, 7 years change their vocational direction at least 4 or 5 times in their lifetime. And that's why schools like yourself and University of Rio Grande and Ohio State University, and all the good schools that are around here, want to see individuals progress. Strengths of Buckeye Hills?
Well, the one thing is completing. The statistics there, if someone actually completes something, there's over a 60% chance they'll go on to complete something else.
That's true.
And a lot of students have never really completed something. And so if they get their phlebotomy, for instance, they may go on to get their medical assisting. If they get their STNA, they may then go on and get their practical nursing. And it's those kind of things. And like in our adult program, we've got an average age of 28, so they've been out in the world after graduation. Now they're looking for another opportunity.
Don, it has been a pleasure. I'm sorry that time is winding down. Perhaps you will be able to bring some of your students over and let them take a look at what we're doing. Mike is a phenomenal director of the program here, and he truly believes in letting students like you get their hands wet and dirty.
Okay.
And Luke is one of those individuals that took that opportunity, and so that's why we keep on telling Luke he can never leave.
That's right.
Don, again, we're talking with Don Armstrong. He's the director of the Buckeye Hills Career Center. Their high school is award-winning. Buckeye Hills. When he comes back next time, we'll talk a little bit about that. Again, thank you. To the listening audience, thank you for listening. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Don.
Thank you.